Welcome to another broadcast of The Competitive Edge. They would normally say, thank God it's Friday. But I would normally say, when you're your own boss, you work beyond the call of duty. But I still want to say to you, welcome to Friday. Welcome to the High Net Worth Investors Guide. And today we're going to be having a pretty interesting conversation. We will be talking about self mastery and what it really takes to bring yourself to that point to master who you are. I do believe that self mastery, it's all about you. It's about you building your personal brand, investing in that personal brand. And then as you build your brand out with substance, you now have to be certain as to how you're going to leverage your personal brand to create impact with the people around you and possibly create that ripple effect of positive impact across the world. Today, I will be looking at self mastery from multiple different standpoints, and I have a number of subject matter experts with me in studio to help me in this conversation. But just to give you some thumbs up, I want to look at the concept of self mastery. It's all about mastering the right habits. So I may take some time to look at habits in self, habits in people, habits in relationship, and habits and predictable outcome. What all that has to do with self mastery, stay with us and you will certainly discover that. Now, I want to invite my colleague, Peter Scott. Peter Scott, he's a leader behind Legacy Chronicle Human Growth Program. He's the person that will talk to you a lot about having your master plan. And he would say to you, if you don't have your master plan for life, you ain't start living yet. You need a plan. Because that helps you to be anchored. Along with this, I have another colleague, and he is Paul Whitehouse. And Paul Whitehouse is passionate about you in business. And he's the kind of person that says to you, to move a business forward, you need a number of things. But one of the things that you really need is access to capital. And he's the guy that will say, we're going to get you approved. All right, we're going to get you approved. So stay with us and he will talk to us about what it takes for him to master what he does in his field. And perhaps you can take away something like that and add it to your life so you have the competitive edge in business and in life. And last but not least, I have another colleague, and his name is Frank. And Frank is an economist by profession. He is a leader by practice, and he has a wealth of knowledge and experience. He lectured at multiple universities, and he really has a passion of connecting with people and empowering people and really helping them to reach the fullness of their potential. So there's my team, and we're going to be having a dynamic conversation here today. Hi, team. I want to welcome you to today's program. Today, we're going to be having a pretty interesting topic. Just before we get started, I want to say that today's program comes to you with the kind compliments of the Bestseller Portal. In the event that you have never heard about the Bestseller Portal, I want to encourage you to go to our website. All right, our website is now on screen, and take some time and look at that website. You're going to get books on leadership, you're going to get books on management, you're going to get books on access to capital. You have all of these things. And then you have, the softer side of things. You're going to get greetings cards. So if you have a loved one in your life, you want to ensure that you get those cards. They truly help you to express yourself. So let's get back to today's topic. Today we're looking at self mastery. And my boy, I gotta spill the beans. When I look at this topic, I can take this topic from so many different directions. But I want to begin by saying this. I want to look at self mastery in the context of, let us say, sales, mastering the sales communication process, mastering the right habits, These are just some of the thoughts that I'm playing around with. And I first of all want to say self mastery is, first of all, building a strong personal brand because it's all about mastering you. So it's about you investing the time, the talent, and the resources, might be financial resources, to begin to know who you are, begin to embrace who you are, begin to live who you are, and to begin to master your true sense of self. And I'm fully aware that it's not the easiest thing to do that. All right. But what I have found is that when you reach to that point where you are mastering who you are, you're now able to develop what we call your MVO. In my context, what the MVO means, it means three things. It means now that you have a minimum viable offer. That might be a product that has lower value. You can have the most viable offer. The most viable offer is what we call the premium brand, or you can have what we call the maximum viable offer. This is where you're offering the market multiple things at one time. I do believe that you just need to master one. All right. This means that as you master yourself, that self now becomes relevant to people because you have elevated your sense of self, your skill set to that point where you have a value offer. And let me give a quick example. Um, Sales communication, to be able to master this, it requires a lot of work. It means that you must have a value offer. It means that you must understand people because that value offer, you want to make sure that it is relevant to people. All right. So self mastery is not just about you said, I'm great, but that greatness must be relevant to people. All right. Because that's the only way you're going to feel and know that you're making impact based on the skill set and the mastery that you would have attained. So I'm just saying all of this to lay some groundwork um, in relation to the topic today. In wrapping up, before opening up the floor, there's four things that I want to just leave here. All that I have said can be summed up into what I call mastering the right habits. And to master yourself, you need to ask yourself, what are the habits that you have in relation to yourself? And I want you to pause a bit and think about it. You might be a financial specialist. I want to be a financial specialist, but what is your habits in relation to yourself? Do you have daily habits that empowers you to study your craft, practice your craft, master your craft? So I want you to think about it. The second aspect is habits and people. Do you care about people enough that you're also investing time to understand people, their pain points, and ensuring that your degree of mastery can really help them to fix their problems? Third is, what does your habits and relationships look like? You want to invest in building quality relationships with the right people. It's necessary. And last but not least, what are your habits and predictable outcome? Now, to be a master at anything that you're doing, you want to have predictable outcome. All right. You might be a leader, but the reason you're leading people is because you want desired end results. But can you move yourself to have that degree of mastery where you can have predictable outcome in your craft? Like, for example, Paul. In Paul's case, Paul may say, I can give you predictable outcome once you come to us to access capital, because I know that if you don't have a good FICO score, I'm going to help you get a good FICO score. And when you get a good FICO score, I'm going to help you develop and present your case to my financial partners. And I'm going to help you navigate through the process. That is mastery in his field. All right. That's mastery in his field. So he has predictable outcome. And I think that what separates a master from the average person is that the master always have predictable outcome. So let's have that conversation around that, my friend. I know it was long, but I want to open up the floor now for some conversation. And I want to start with Paul. Perhaps, Paul, you can talk to us a little bit about some of the financial instruments that you have. And then you can perhaps take some time and talk us through what it really took for you to become a master in your space.
Okay. Thank you, Gary. Good morning, everybody. Well, financial products that we have available for you. Patriot Business Finance Consultants can set you up with the lowest cost of money and the best deal structure for your financing. That would be equipment financing. We do that through equipment leasing. That would be real estate financing, commercial and investment properties. Uh, Cash flow products. If your cash flow is slow, I know it's hurting your business. So accounts receivable, your company's biggest asset. We got a program to where those can be used as assets to bring cash flow, like speed it up to 100 miles per hour right away. Like those assets, that's your money waiting out there in the world for you. Why wait for it? You can cash it in with factoring. So, I mean, there's more financing products that we have. And when we talk with somebody, what we do is we listen. We listen 10% and or 90% of the time, and 10% is when we provide the solution. So, whatever you've got going on, we've got the solution for you. All at patriotbfc.com. Direct message Gary so we can all three work together on your project, and we're here to help you. To answer your question about mastery, how do you become good at something? You just really have to do it. It's not that complicated. Roll your sleeves up and do what you need to do because you know what you need to do. If you're going to graduate from college, you need to attend every class. You need to study X amount of hours per day, and then you will get a predictable outcome. And I really like the way you say predictable outcome because it's so true. If you're hiring an expert, if you're hiring a heart surgeon to do heart surgery, you probably want a predictable outcome, don't you? You want the guy to
Definitely.
yeah, you want a success record. Maybe somebody died along the way. Hey, don't pin it all on the doctor. I'm just joking. Do pin it on the doctor. Okay. But predictable outcomes are important. And a predictable outcome can be had if you put the time in and the effort, if you become a subject matter expert. Well, I guess let's talk specifically about what we do with financing. But I do think what we do translates into every other every other business. So become a subject matter expert. When you're talking with your client, you can't miss a beat. You have to have an answer to every question. You can miss a beat, and the potential way to do it, though, let me rephrase it a little bit because I tell this to new consultants. Somebody asks you a question and you don't know the answer, it's perfectly fine to say, "I'm brand new. I want to make sure I get the right answer for you. Let's set an appointment with me, you, and the owner of the company so that you can get all the information." But that little phrase right there that I ask the consultants to say when they're new, um, that's part of a process also. Knowing to say that will give you a predictable outcome. That predictable outcome will be the client on the other end of the phone saying, I understand you're brand new. I appreciate working with you. And yeah, let's do that. Let's set up an appointment with me, you, and the owner. Um, what happens? The new consultant, hears me speaking to the client, goes through the process, they get to internalize those words. And when they hear me doing that 20, 30, 40, 50 times, because that's how many times I'll get on a phone call with the client and the consultant to help with the education and, to do the deal. Predictable outcomes are end results. The clients make an appointment with us. If you're in business and you're on the phone, your goal is to get an appointment. You're not going to sell it on the phone, probably. You might, but you want to get an appointment so that you've got dedicated time to talk about the subject that you want to talk about. So, like, so many things can be put together. Everything that you do ends up giving you that predictable outcomes. Just a quick side note, then I think I'm done with my, with that one. But I think in every field, you see it. I'm just going to talk about motocross. Let's talk about dirt bike racing. Every couple of years, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, there's like 1 or 2 people who come along and they are noticeably better than the rest of the professional riders. And I think that happens in every sport. But in motocross, they all start, they go around the first corner. That blip in the radar type person, that's rising star who's literally a professional who's head and shoulders above the other professionals, takes the first corner, he's in first position. And then by the end of the 30-minute race, he's lapped the field. He's coming up into halfway into the field. So how do you get to that level? Some people are doing it. I think they do it by just doing a little bit more extra effort. I don't even know that they necessarily have more talent than the other professionals, but they're doing it somehow, and I think they're doing it by extra effort, extra training, extra going for it. And I said that to say this: you can do the same thing that they do. Just put in that extra effort, want it, and do it. Act like our friend TJ says, you can and act now.
All right, thanks for that share, Paul. That was definitely insightful. I really love that you made emphasis on predictable outcome. As a subject matter expert, as someone who has rise to that occasion to master yourself, I think is the predictable outcome that comes with working with you that really makes you the master who you are. Frank, I want to come to you. You have spent many years, practicing your craft as an economist, and being a lecturer, a teacher, a mentor, a coach, uh, very much involved in leadership. And can you talk to us about what it takes to become a master at what you do?
Thank you, Gary, and welcome, listeners. For you to become a master, what you do first of all is the commitment that you have to put into your skill, the commitment that you have to put into whatever you want to become. Commitment, 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 and I always stress commitment. A lot of times, leaders find it very hard to commit to staff, to commit to the team for various reasons. But the end result, if you are committed, you can have predictable outcome. What is it to be predictable? Is it time for another leadership skill we don't talk enough about? One of the things I do know that if there's one constant, it's change. So if you're not committed, you can change that to becoming committed. You see, we usually can control the changes that impact our team. But what we can control is making sure that as their leader, we are a solid and predictable presence for our team in the midst of an ever-changing world. Excuse me. And this tends to unlock greater psychological safety. So, what does this mean in practice? Be consistent in how you show up for your team. You need to signal when you're going to do something that might otherwise seem like a complete surprise. And when you change strategy, you speak, you verbalize that you change in direction from what you've communicated before, and then you explain why you're changing. And of course, you got to build some structure into your one-on-ones and other team rituals. It's only with consistent repetition that your brain will come to predict an outcome. One thing that I have spoken a lot about in team leadership is the idea of psychological safety, and it has made me become a firm believer that there's no silver bullet for this. But one of the most powerful tools we have to build psychological safety is to be committed, to be consistent, and predictable over long periods of time without the team. Can I ask a question? Have you ever been totally surprised when your boss lashes out about something they never seemed to care about before? Were you ever frustrated by a manager who seemed to change your priorities every week? Yes. Priorities shifts as leaders. Priorities shift as leaders, but building consistency and being committed can be as easy as using the last week's underrated leadership skill of setting, when you set clear expectations. At other times, it's creating some structure when everything else is chaotic. It's like that old feeling of getting off the bus when you were a child and you get to run home and have something like a snack waiting for you. It's only with consistent repetition, I said, is that the brain will come to predict an outcome. If you have a consistent snack time routine, which is reliable, it can be comforting, and it creates a point around which you can orient yourself no matter what else happened that day. So when we have consistency plus repetition, there is equal predictability. This is a formula for leaders. Consistency plus repetition equal predictability. If you're at work, consistency conditions the team, which ultimately means adding some predictability to the day. With predictability, we can be a point for teams to orient around instead of being part of the chaos. Tap into levels of calm, tap into levels of productivity and psychological safety that just aren't possible when they don't have any solid ground to run on. And yes, one can be flexible at the same time. Are you consistent in how you show up for your team? If your team can't predict what's coming, they also can't prepare emotionally or intellectually. And the thing about it, we all have good and bad days, but it's important to manage how we behave with our teams to be as consistent as possible. And this usually means being fully present with our teams, consistently bring the same energy to team meetings, using the same methods of communication, having a predictable Slack persona, etc. This is about being a cookie cutter manager, but it's about teaching your team to know what they can expect when they show up to a meeting with you. Nothing is more jarring, bad, than having a boss who gives you full autonomy half the time, and the other half of the time wants you to walk them through every detail of your planning without warning. And changing it up can be good, if intentional, especially if you communicate why or give people time to prepare. But frequent change in approach without clear strategic intent to put a huge strain on psychological safety, because you're removing a major source of predictability for them. If your team can't predict what's coming, they also can't predict emotionally or even intentionally. And sometimes they may even prepare for the wrong thing. They may be flustered when reality doesn't match the prediction. But in all cases, you put them in a position of operating from their back foot. So we need to aim for consistency most of the time.
Hmm. All right, thanks for that share, Frank. What I just want to quickly add on the point of predictable outcome is that you need to have a process that has been tested time and time again. Those are tools, processes, and systems that has been tested. It is going through that test is where you are nurturing your mastery, and it's through that mastery and through the testing, you now have predictable outcome. I want to come to Peter, and then I will chime in and look at this from what I call the sales communication standpoint. All to you, Peter.
Yeah, Gary, just want to let over that we appreciate participating in it. Yeah, so as we one of the challenges that I have where mastery, self-mastery have when people comes to us and we are introducing to them the human growth master plan, what we do find is, and this is largely not just individuals, but when you look outside into what is happening in the world, it all leads back to the same thing. And so we craft a term around that, and what we find is we call it the complexity of human simplicity. The complexity of human simplicity, and what we find as we look into that concept is that we tend to look more on the outside. Human beings tend to project their attention on what is happening around them, what is happening out there, as against understanding what is happening inside here. And it's easy for individuals to look, if we're talking about self-mastery, it's easy that what happens is that a lot of attention is placed on the outside, because when we look on the outside, it removes the responsibility. It is something that is easy to do. And so once it is easy to do and and there's no responsibility, then a lot of times place on that. But then what we try to do to solve that problem is to introduce the simplicity with the process around what we call now is the simplicity of human complexity. Because what we do find is that human beings are complex. But if we take the time to examine the complexity, it will indeed become simple. And that is why, as I said before, that a lot of times a lot of attention is placed on the outside, because most persons don't have the courage to look on the inside. Because looking on the inside, it takes about four things. Looking on the inside to deal with what is happening on the inside, to attain that self-mastery that we're talking about, it is going to take a decision. Somebody has to make a decision. But when they look at how hard it is, most people just go back reverting to what is going on. It is going to take determination, because you have to keep at it. You have to invest in getting the job done for us to attain that self-mastery that we're talking about. And then there's a sense of duty. So it takes decision, it takes determination, it also takes duty, where a person have to understand that, this is my job. If I don't do it, then nobody else will. And then the fourth component, which is largely a matter where a lot of a lot of issues goes on, because individuals don't like to feel as if they have to depend on something greater than themselves. Because to really bring about the simplicity that is of the human complexity is going to require divine intervention. So it's going to take a decision, it's going to take determination, it's going to take duty. But to carry out that duty, we got to understand that we can't, it is so complex that we can't do it by ourselves. It requires divine intervention. And this is why, there is so much chaos and problems are going on in our world. So basically then we bring it down to simplify the complexity. How are we simplify the complexity of the human experience to gain that mastery that we're talking about? It's basically 4 or 5 matters that we deal with, and it's the 9 dimensions of individuality. The look within, and when we start looking within to understand and to gain some authority over the self, understand what the self is, there is 9 dimensions to who I am as an individual. And when we understand those 9 dimensions and we begin to break them down into pieces and begin to master each piece, and gain that authority over each piece, then we begin to understand ourselves, which now takes us into our corporate personality. Because a human being, it is just starting with the personal life. We do understand the personal life is just repeated through all the other levels of our human experience. The personal life, the family life, the community life, the corporate is just basic repetition of the same applications that goes out into our broader world. So when we understand our corporate personality, that when you look at me, I'm not just what you see. There are other levels that you don't see that must be brought together or to be organized, just as though you organize a corporate setting, just as though a corporate setting has departments. Yes, what you see when you look into the mirror has its departments that has to be organized effectively into what we call now the 7 matrix of personal alignment. And this may sound like a whole lot, but what I do find that there are certain fundamental matters that has to be put in place. And when we put everything in its proper order and we can look at it, then we get to now understand the reason why we need a human growth master plan. Because we can't have a plan if we do not understand the various components of what is going on. And then those master plan now, when we begin to work that master plan, the end result is that we are serving humanity in a very effective manner. We go through life not in pieces. We go through life in a sense of purpose and mission, and we get up in the mornings and we know what we're dealing with. But what I do find is that we tend to want to go out there and get the big things done, and we spend so much time, and this is why we find that humanity in essence becomes a lot of what is being done. It shows up, a person may make the millions and then they jump off a building, or they drink, we hear of so many times, and you find, how come this person be so successful? And then something happen and their lives, they are no longer. So the fundamental issues, we try to get individuals to understand the fundamental issues. And when we build on fundamentals, when we constantly build on fundamentals, it makes the trajectory of everything that we want to accomplish as individuals mastering our own lives. And in the communication that you sent out, Gary, it is, why is it that individuals tend to allow themselves to be mastered by others as against mastering themselves, because I sense that individuals are going out into trying to the complex dynamics of out there without simplifying the complex dynamics of in here. And when we do that, start from in here, then the everything goes smooth after that.
All right, Peter, thanks for that share. And to respond to your question, is that what we have seen, and history is showing this, research is showing this, that most people lead with self-interest. They're not leading with collective interest. And this is the reasons why we as a species, a human species, we owe it to ourselves to invest everything that we have to master ourselves in this lifetime. All right, we owe it to ourselves. If leaders are not acting in your interests, you owe it to yourself to act in this. But I just want to advance the conversation by looking at the topic. The topic is master your personal brand, mastering your personal brand. And I'm going to identify 5 names, and I want us to just examine what they have in common. And then I'm going to give you a blueprint in terms of how you can get there. One of the names is Jeff Bezos. He's a great mind behind, Amazon. He's known the world over. Have you ever asked yourself what it took for Jeff to emerge as a great leader in this space? He wasn't always there. He was a pencil pusher in some office. He wasn't comfortable there, and he wanted to become involved in science and research. But he made a decision that he wants to push the ceiling. He want to master his personal brand, and he stepped up. Another name is Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was a backbencher. He wasn't a go-to person when it comes to going and shoot that, the top points for Lakers, or, he was not the go-to person. But he stood with his passion, and he mastered his personal brand. What he did, what they did, I will explain to you what they have in common. Let's look at Celine Dion. Celine Dion, at one point, she wasn't able to speak fluent English. She has risen above those challenges. She has been true to her story, her brand, and today she's a world-renowned personality. Let's talk about Mariah Carey. Mariah Carey, even her mom didn't believe in her dream. Her mom says to her, "What does a Latino girl like you, want to have with dreaming the American dream?" And at some point, she had to detach herself from what she considered to be negative influence, and she went on her own. For 1 year, she slept on, the floors, the corridors, where she was studying to dance. She went through hardship, but guess what? She was determined to master her personal brand. The last name that I'm going to call is Warren Buffett, a great mind in the financial space. And all of these people, they have mastered their personal brand. And this is what I want to say. Strong personal brand is built. They're all built on several things: design, connection, impact, and influence. And let me just briefly go into this. Strong personal brand is all about design. So when I talk about design, what exactly do I mean? I'm saying that your design needs to be strong. Your MVO, your minimum viable offer, your most viable offer, it needs to be strong. In Michael Jordan case, he was a great basketball player, perhaps the greatest of all time. His value off is that he could have taken that ball, he could have shoot that ball, and he could have lead any team to a predictable outcome, and that is to win. Celine Dion, Mariah Carey, when they take that stage, they're going to entertain you like their life depends on it, and you're going to be motivated, predictable outcome. Warren Buffett, he's going to talk to you about calculative risk and how to divorce yourself from risk investment portfolios so you can get predictable outcome. Their design, they had a very, very strong value offer. The next thing that they had in common is that, but just before I go to the next thing in common, to have this degree of mastery is not an overnight success. It's a process. All right, it's a process that says that you are collecting data, you're analyzing data, you're applying data, and you're mitigating data. I'm not going to get into all the complexity today, but I'm just sharing with you what these guys had to go through to arrive where they're at. These guys also spend an awful lot of time understanding people, studying people, because if what they were doing, if their value offer was not aligned to people, they would not have been able to inspire, empower, people, entertain people. They study those people, or they had those around them who was studying those people. And that in itself enabled them to have predictable outcome. You see, when you study people, whether you have a product or a service, your objective is not to start a business because it gives you desire and happiness and joy and excitement. The core reason behind starting that operation is because you want to add value and you want to fix problems. And if you really want to add value and fix problems, you have to understand the people that you want to serve. If you don't understand the people that you're going to serve, you're going to have unsatisfied customers. And when you have unsatisfied customer, your offer is going to fall through the crack. It's going to be a basket case. So to have predictable outcome, they understand that you need to understand people. Your value offer has to be relevant to people. And with this now, the last phase that I'm going to talk about now, these folks invested in relationships, building quality relationships. And on this stage, I want to have relationship with everyone here. Because let us suppose I didn't understand finance. I can call Paul and I say, Paul, I have a project. I have good FICO. I have historical financial data. Can you set me up in a week? So we need to start learning how to invest in relationship, because mastering your personal brand is not to say I'm good at what I do. I have skill sets and, I arrive. You need to have all of these other moving parts, like all of these other successful people that I have talked about, as part of your overall skill set. And that's what we, really is the face of self-mastery. You want to master your personal brand. And your personal brand has all of these moving parts. Just to touch a little bit on what Peter would have said, we are multidimensional beings. And by multidimensional, multifaceted beings, we have a physical self. We need to treat that self well, mean that we need to eat the right food, we need to get adequate rest, and all of these different types of stuff. I'm not going to go into it now. But then we have a spiritual side, and we need to nurture our spirituality, because it is in nurturing our spirituality is where you are truly able to tap into the richness of yourself and amplify that greatness like a beacon of light in the world. So I'm going to pause here for now, and I want to come back to Paul and just have Paul talk to us a little bit more about financial instruments and then I'm going to get back to Frank, Peter, and to talk about their respective field, because I want to know more about leadership. I want to know more about uh, the personal life master plan, and how it can help people to attain self mastery. And from there, we're going to start to wrap up. So, Paul, all to you. Can you talk to us a little bit more about financial instruments? And perhaps you can also add another, leg on what it takes to become a master in your field.
Okay, thank you. Well, again, we've got basically 7 main products: equipment financing, real estate financing, cash flow products, purchase order financing. That's an important one if you're in business to business. You get a large order that you cannot fulfill, and that's delivering a service or delivering a product. You want to make that sale, it's a large one, but your cash flow is slow, and you just don't have the money to fulfill the order. You got to buy the raw materials, you got to manufacture the product, you got to deliver the service, you got to put it on the truck if it's a product and ship it to your buyer. You have to do all those things. Your customer is not going to front you the money to do that. But guess who will front you the money to do it? Us. We will take care of you, set you up with an arrangement called purchase order financing, and Walmart buys 1 million pairs of shoes from you. Well, your big brother, the PO financing company, is going to step in, front the money for you, pay for it to be manufactured, pay for the truck driver to drive it to Walmart and drop it off and unload it. Everything that needs to be paid for will be paid for. Then, when Walmart pays the bill, you get your profit. The money that the PO financing company fronted to get that handled, of course, they get that back. Then the profit above and beyond that comes back to your company minus the fee, because it's called cost of money. It's not for free. So PO financing company gets their cut. You fulfilled the order. You made money. You form that relationship with Walmart or whoever your buyer is, and you can continue to do business with them because you successfully filled an order. So there's not one aspect of business financing that Patriot Business Finance Consultants cannot help you with.
But Paul, just a little bit. I want to just talk to you a little bit about this instrument in itself. I just want to amplify it so as to ensure that our audience understand what you're saying. What Paul is saying is that the way business is done, you have to offer a line of credit. All right. Sometimes you get a big order, but the person who's buying from you, they're asking you for 30 days or 60 days or 90 days to pay. Now, that is a guarantee buyer. But that buyer is saying to you, I don't have the monies to buy it from you now, but I'm going to take it and I'm going to stock my store out and I'm going to pay you in 60, 30, 60, or 90 days. Now, you're worried about that because you need cash flow. You got to pay your staff, you got to pay the bills, you got to pay the bank back, and you need cash flow. And you can't wait 30, 60, or 90 days. You can't wait. What Paul is saying to you, he's saying that you can make that deal and you don't have to wait. You don't have to wait because he's going to connect you with the financial institution that is going to pay for that entire supply. All right? They're going to pay for that entire supply. And when Walmart or Target or whoever it is pays the money now, they now deduct the monies that they would have given to you with a small markup. But guess what? Within that, they're taking that small markup, but within that 30, 60, or 90 days, you might have had more, you have more money coming in, and you might have flipped that deal several times over again, produce and supply again. And this is the kind of flexibility that the financial instrument that Paul is talking about that you need to know. Cash flow should never be a problem to you anymore because of the instrument that Paul is talking about. All to you, Paul. I just wanted to clear that up just a little bit.
Well, it's important that you really emphasize that because this is an important subject. It's cash
Yeah,
flow. That's a very important subject. But seriously, if you don't have cash flow, you're going to wither and die in business.
exactly.
Shrivel up and turn to dust, and then nobody will remember you. You know.
Exactly.
So we have angles, we have lenders who want to say yes, and we have solutions for you. We are subject matter experts. We do have predictable results, and we know how to put it together for you and get it done for you. As Gary said, um, that's just the way it is. If you sell business to business, they're not going to pay you up front, and they're not going to pay you on delivery. They're going to pay you net 30 days. That's what it says on the invoice. But 30 turns to 40 or 45 or 60 a lot of times. And, you know, and it products like that, if you don't know about them, now you do. And what that means is if you did not know about them, because your bank will not tell you. Banks do not offer purchase order financing. Let me stress that. Banks do not offer the things that we offer. They don't offer a sale leaseback. They don't offer purchase order financing. They do not offer factoring. They offer equipment financing, but it's not leasing, and leasing is the way to get equipment. It's the way to get ownership of equipment. So, to make a long story short, we've got angles that others don't. And what we can do for you will enable you to make that order instead of just say to yourself, I can't take the order. Sorry, Walmart. Thanks. Can you imagine saying that to your kids? I had an order with Walmart. I couldn't fulfill it. I wish I would have. Things could have been different, kids. We could have went to Florida this year. Well, guess what? You can go to Florida this year. Just get with us and we're going to set you up with angles that you don't know about.
Mhm.
And they're not new products. These products have been around for decades and in a couple of cases, centuries. Factoring has been around for centuries. So get a hold of us. And
Exactly.
simple as that, get a hold of us.
Exactly. All right, thanks for that share, Paul. I really trust that the listening audience, those who are here live and those who will be listening to the replay, what Paul is saying to you, you don't have a financial problem, because we have studied the business community, we have studied your challenges, and what we have done, we have built our personal brand and corporate brand to deliver results for you. All right. Predictable outcome.
Yeah.
We know what you want. You need access to capital. We can get you access to capital. You need access to markets. We can get you access to markets. All right. You need market intelligence. Our ecosystem, we're able to get you essential market intelligence so you understand the market. Because you're collecting sensitive data, we're helping you to analyze that sensitive data. We're helping you to apply that sensitive data, and we're helping you to mitigate it to achieve your business objective. Talking about self-mastery, you have a team of persons here who have really committed time, talent, and resources to master their craft to ensure that they're going to help you to make the highest degree of impact in your line of business. Frank.
Hi. Yes. One of the things that stands out most of the times, especially self-mastery and business leadership, we must understand that when you lead, you need to lead from a best case scenario. And self-mastery is an essential part of business leadership. So when you're learning to exercise command over your inner circles and taking full authority over all aspects of your life, it is key in your ability to lead in the new era. We see that in today's business, the landscape, strategic thinking and visioning are indispensable skills to stay ahead of your competition. and also stand out in the marketplace. You need to understand how to take risk, master fast decision making, and lead from a place of best case scenario. Combination of this will help you drive results and position your organization for sustainable success. You see, the power is in the self mastery. It's about understanding yourself on a deeply personal level, but it's including but not limited to what motivates you, where you find strength and energy, where you have weaknesses, how can you best achieve success, how to handle difficult emotions that arise when making tough decisions. It's about confidently knowing who you are as a person, unlocking your potential as a leader so you can inspire others towards a greater vision. When self mastery comes, with self mastery comes greater insight into yourself, which allows you to make sound decisions with confidence and ease. As a business leader, one needs a strong sense of self in order to effectively manage the teams and create meaningful change within the organization. If you know how to engage with others in difficult conversations or situations, it comes from the ability to look inward and understand how you respond emotionally. Self mastery is always allows you to be a more effective communicator, increase your ability to influence. There's a greater sphere of influence and inspire trust amongst your team members, while at the same time support them to perform the best and reach their full potential. As a business leader, you want to anticipate potential risks and or opportunities before they come. This allows you to develop the right strategies accordingly. And having a deep understanding of self allows you to have greater clarity when making important decisions for your organization. And one key concept of self mastery is strategic thinking, the ability to think ahead and consider the implication of future actions in order to make informed decisions today. This helps you take advantage of new opportunities as they arise without getting caught off guard by those unexpected pitfalls or roadblocks.
All right, thanks for that share, Frank. Peter.
Yeah. Sometimes I when we're dealing with people where the human growth master plan is concerned, um, the challenge that I do have when we're dealing with individuals, even when we say, even using a term that Frank used a while ago about mastering self, mastering the self. And what I do find is that individuals don't take enough time to really examine what self is. Because usually when they're talking about self, they're just talking about what they see when they look in the mirror, the physical world, the physical representation of themselves, and which we do understand that the physical representation of self is temporary and life largely. I was even talking to my son yesterday to make this point. I said to him that most of life is not seen. I said to him that empty space is not empty. The space that we see around us. And the modern technology has caused us to understand that, because I said to him, look, my printer is here. It has no wire attached to it. But I press print, and then I go into the other room and I pick up a piece of paper with the words that I printed, how did it transfer from this without a wire? How did it transfer from this room to another room? And I have the actual document over here. Empty space. There is so much happening in the world that is not seen. So that equates to what I'm saying, what we see when we look in the mirror. There is so much more that is not examined, that is not, break up into the pieces, the components, and to do a deep dive. And this is what I was saying, that so much is spent looking into the outer world without examining what is happening in the inner world. So that understanding and mastering self. The second concept I want to bring to the table here is that now when we have done that, then that now put us to understand now there's about 5 or 7 or 5 dimensions now, or what we call matrix. There are about 5 or 7 matrix, that when we understand those matrix, after we understand what self is, then there is now about 5, I'll give us 5 matrix that we can now tap into. And those 5 matrix that we will understand oneself, the 9 dimensions of what self is. When we understand that, then that put us now into the world of which most of which we dive into, which is now mission. So we can now build on our mission. These 5 matrix, and basic matrix is mission. And when you understand your mission, then you understand that to accomplish the mission, then there are some things that you must do. If you do not do these things, the mission will not be accomplished. So the mission is going to give you mandates. And when you have a mandate, the mandate must be communicated. And Frank spoke a lot about that, about leadership roles and how individuals communicate, give out those signals, so those who are understanding the signal can be able to take those signals and go implement them. So there has to be a message. So there has to be a mission. There has to be a mandate. There has to be the proper messaging to support those mandates. And when you understand what that message is, automatically the message, the data is going to find the market, because the data is going to go out. And when the data goes out, when the message goes back, it's going to go out, and like a sonar, it's going to reverberate. So there is that message that comes back that gives us adequate information now from the market. So again, we have the message, we have the mandate, we have the mission, we have the mandate, we have the message that will identify the market. Now, when you deep dive in your market, when you have found your market and your market love you, and there is this synergy between you and your market, what you're going to now develop is a movement, a group of persons who are so loyal to your message, so loyal to your mandate and your mission, that they will give you money. They will give you money repeatedly, over and over and over again, because that has stamped a brand, that personal brand that we're talking about. It has stamped a brand so deep that no matter what, you could be dead. But my son, his favorite artist is Michael Jackson, and he has never seen Michael Jackson in person. That is how powerful it is when we understand, the complexities, as we talk about the complexities of the complexities of human simplicity, but we want to flip it around to simplify those human complexities. And when we bring those together, then we can get up in the morning with a sense of, I'm going to take on the world today. And eventually, when we're in the box, we can die empty. I hear Frank mentioned this recently about dying empty. when we break this down and we understand self and really apply self and squeeze the life out of self, then at the end of the day, at the end of each day and at the end of our lives, we can feel that sense of accomplishment.
All right, thanks for that share. I do believe that we owe it to ourselves every day to invest in mastering our personal brand. I think in mastering our personal brand, we will get to that point of self-mastery. And I want to now ask everyone to give their closing remarks. But just before I get to the closing remarks, I want to say, build healthy habits around self. All right. An essential pathway to master your personal brand is to believe in yourself. When everyone else don't believe in you, you owe it to yourself to believe in yourself. It's not for people to believe in you and your dreams. They don't see it. It's not for them to see it. It's for you to see it. And you need to fight with every last, bit of oxygen or atom of oxygen that you have, and in believing in yourself and in investing in who you are. The next thing that I want to say to you is you need to invest in people. Because regardless of the faults that people have, all right, regardless of their where people are at, you need to have relationship with people. All right, you need to have relationship with people. So the last thing that you should allow to have happen in your journey to master your personal brand is to have a small fraction of people who might have hurt you or done wrong to you to shape your perception and your reality of what people are. Because you need people, you need healthy relationship with people to elevate and pivot to where you need to be. And I want to also say, never stop investing in quality relationship. Always put yourself in a position of strength where you could add value and fix problems in environment that you're going into. Always do that. And guess what? You will get predictable outcome. All right? You will get predictable outcome. So let's follow some of the master these 4 habits I've shared with you. Habits around self, habits around people, understand people, habits around relationships, and then your predictable outcome will come. All right. One of the things that we do, we don't start acting unless we have predictable outcome. All right. So when I'm working with you to help you to grow and scale your business, guess what? I know exactly what I need to do. I know the predictable outcome. I know that you need visibility, you need reach, you need impact, you need client conversion, you need cash flow optimization, you need confidence, trust, and credibility. And I know exactly how to do this. We have written many books on this. The same with Paul and Frank and, Peter. All right. We have mastered our craft. So I encourage you, if you're a business that need access to capital, reach out to us. Leadership support, reach out to us. Marketing support, reach out to us. With that being said, I want to now bring down the curtain on today's program. I'm going to start with Frank, then Peter, and then I'm going to come to Paul. Frank, all to you, my friend. Closing remarks.
Thank you. I want to close by saying the number one necessity for self-mastery in leadership, the number one necessity, drum roll, self-love.
It's self-love.
It's possible to have a title leader on your resume. It's nice to get people to get stuff done. It's good to achieve and acquire things, to have money, and magazine covers it. But that's not mastery. It might be misery. You deserve better. People in the world deserve the blessing that you are here to be and bring. What if the number one is for self-mastery and effective, inspiring leadership is self-love. Yes, we know that money and getting stuff done is included and it's infused with infinitely sourced ideas, innovation, empathy, efficiencies. When you're waking up inspired, teams geeked up to give their best, and so much more for truly healthy, sustainable success. Self love can get confused with self absorption, or narcissism. And this can be further from the truth. Please pause and recalibrate as needed. In the business world, and that's understandably, the word love can be perceived as soft. But if we let that continue, this will be a horrible mistake for many reasons. One needs to clarify and strengthen the power in this concept, not shy away from it. Breathe in, breathe with me on that one. What kind of energy do you want running you? What kind of energy do you want running the world? What do you want to pass on to future generation?
Thanks for that share, Frank. I love that one. The greatest asset of a leader is the ability to lead self, the ability to master self, first of all. I love it, love it, love it. Habits around self. Peter.
Yeah, indeed, indeed, and I wanted just to ride the same wave that Frank started out on, but he used a term a while ago, which about individuals become narcissistic. And where does narcissism comes from? Narcissism comes from the fact that when we look in the mirror, we're of the impression that what we see is all there is. So what happens is that we go beyond just loving ourselves to falling in love with ourselves. And when an individual fall in love with what happens is that the rest of the world disappears and they just live to serve what they see. But what we're asking individuals to do is to do exactly what Frank says, in loving self and understanding truly what self is, to believe in self and truly what self is. And so to do that, what we try to get individuals to understand in the Human Growth Master Plan program is that you have to understand the 9 dimensions of individuality. When you're looking at yourself, this individual that you're looking at, there's 9 dimensions to that person. And when you understand, if you don't understand those 9 dimensions, then you will become a narcissistic, because you'll just look at this thing that you're seeing and think that's all there is. So those 9 dimensions, the first 3 levels is what you see, yes, your body, but beyond your body is your soul, and within the very core of your existence is your human spirit. But then now let's look at that is 3, but now look at what the soul is. Inside of the soul, or the mind, because the mind come the word mind, where we have the study of psychology, which comes from the Greek word, which is psyche, is the same word as the word soul. So the mind and the soul is the same thing, but within the soul is the memory. So if you're going to love yourself, you got to love your memory, your data collecting center. You got to love your intellect. And if you love your intellect, you're going to get informed. You're going to make sure that you have adequate information serving you, so you won't. Some people don't read. They don't take time to get information, to keep up to date with current information, so they themselves can be current. You got to love your thoughts. Some people don't think anymore. They think they're thinking, but what they do is just regurgitating something that somebody else says, their favorite person. People love to watch TV and watch entertainment, so they do not have the time to really go into deep thoughts. You have to love your imagination. In the world in which we live, imagination is, people don't tend to take time out in their creativeness to produce solutions. And this is why there's so much problems constantly in the world. And then the last 2, you got to have a will. You have to know when to say no, what you're going to say no to, and what you're going to say yes to. You don't say yes to everything. You got to be your own person where you know, that's not me, and I'm not going to do it because somebody else says so. This is what I stand, and I say no. And then we have to understand emotions, because emotions runs wild when all the other six that I mentioned, all the other five that I mentioned a while ago, is not in place. So we've got to embrace that our emotion is just the sensory. It senses, it takes the temperature from the internal world to the outer world. And whatever happens, the emotion can run wild in any direction. So the mastery of self and the self-branding that we're talking about will be so impactful when we do look in the mirror and we can see beyond just what we see and understand the various levels, and then work now with a master plan, because it's no easy task. It is no easy task. It is going to require a master plan to measure and manage all of those elements so that we can be our best selves.
All right, thanks for that share, Peter. Peter, for next week, right, Friday, can you develop those 9 talking points? And all I want you to look at is to go deep into those 9 points. I do believe that there is a lot of value there. You talk about imagination, which is connecting with our youthfulness again. You know, when we were small, we imagined all kind of great things, and we believe that we are Superman, right? We can fly. And I think it's that connected with that childlike self is where great things are born out of. Let's take, for example, Elon Musk. He wants to go to the moon. He wants to go to outer planetary systems, and he wants to build a new world there. That we might think that that's the pinnacle of imagination. It might go deeper than that, but it just goes to show that when men think things, they can manifest great things. And so I love that. I want you to go into it to really help humanity to understand the richness of their potential, and if they begin to tap into it, um, what can happen. Their greatness, their imagination might not be able to go into space like Elon Musk, but it might be on starting that gated community. It might be on, building the tallest building in the world. It might be how to position yourself to become one of the wealthiest people in the world. How do you use imagination and everything else to position yourself to attain those greatness? And as you said, some people are scared to think. And I think that a lot of people, based on their socialization to life, they have been programmed to be dumbed down. And perhaps that's another reasons why people, from the time you start to think big dreams, someone next to you is going to jab you. Who are you to think that you can achieve all of this? I can recall, years ago when I started, doing a social media program, there's a lot of folks that would say, "What are you trying to do, Mr. Thompson? What are you doing?" Well, what I'm doing is exactly what you see I'm doing. And now that we have one of the biggest social media platform in the world, say, "Hey, I like what you're doing, and let's partner." All right. And if I had listened to those voices, that's trying to limit you based on how they see themselves, what would have happened? Now, that's enough about me for today. Paul Whitehouse, talk to us a little bit, my friend. Financial instrument, your closing statement.
Okay. Closing statement on self-mastery is you can do it. I don't think it's as hard as it might seem. You either do it or you don't. And to do it, it absolutely requires a master plan. It requires leadership. You have to lead yourself. You have to tell yourself to get out of bed and start at 9 o'clock every day. You have to tell yourself to don't take a break. Like if you're working from home, it's easy to do. It's easy to get lazy, but don't do it. Don't do that. Just do it. Just do it. Get up in the morning, work your plan. You've got it written down. You know what the plan is. Do it. I can't even think of anything else to say other than do it. Self-mastery is to do it. So get out of bed, put your shoes on. Don't work in your pajamas. Like dress up. If that's what I mean, you might be able to pull it off wearing your pajamas. Okay. If you can do it, do it. Some people got to dress up to feel like they're at work. Do that. Do whatever you got to do. Just keep on doing it and keep on doing it. And then eventually it'll be done. And you can look back and say, look what I accomplished. That wasn't as hard as I thought it was. I talked to a guy. I told you about the guy, my new customer, right? The trucking company. Well,
Yeah.
he said his first business venture was this. Uh, he was married, got divorced, gave the house away, he just made it easy on everybody and walked away from it, gave all the equity in his house away. He kind of regrets that. But he was living and he said, I'm just going to go do this. He went to the bank, applied for a loan, and he got, only had to put 20% down, and he bought his first income property. And his words to me when he described it to me was, I couldn't believe how easy it was. I walked in, I did it, and I started making $2,000 a month cash flow on top of making the rent, making that mortgage payment. So I don't think it's as hard as we think it is. I don't think anything's as hard as we think it is. After you get it done, you look back and you say, that wasn't so bad. It wasn't as scary as everybody said that it was. So my final words are just do it and keep on doing it.
Paul, I really like um, the information you share. And perhaps next week, what we can do is to do some storytelling, to really talk about the journey. Because to become a self master, to master your personal brand, remember you're starting at ground zero. All right. You first know that you want to be something, you want to accomplish something at the end of the day, you want to achieve that predictable outcome. And sometimes you just have a theory, all right? And that theory becomes tools, processes, and systems when they're tested. And it's painful starting. You have doubts, you have fear, and only when you would have had a built up of experience that you can get past that. The reason I want us to do some talking about this perhaps next week is because I'm talking to many younger folks today. They want to leap, but they're scared of leaping. And it's comfortable to identify the reasons why you should not do it today, the reason to postpone it. But if you want to really master who you are, you have to stop the postponing and you have to just do it now. Just do it. The last point I want to make here, Paul, is that I think many of us, we try to be perfect at the beginning. Man, you don't have to be perfect.
No.
And I have seen persons in their imperfection have built a brand around their imperfection. And then they evolve like that butterfly, the butterfly in that cocoon, and then it bursts out of the cocoon, and then it now begin to fly, and everybody's seeing it. It's flying now. You don't have to start perfect. I think that's the thing that holds people back. Swim in your imperfection, but just don't necessarily become complacent there. Your focus is to grow and to expand. There's a whole concept of self-actualization. Just start the process. And that's my last word to people when it comes to mastering your personal brand. Just start. All right. Last thing, I always have the last. Get a mentor, get a coach, get a supportive community, get a sponsor. We are here to help you with all of that. All right. We are prepared to mentor you, coach you, support you, help you to that supportive community and sponsor you. So you have all of that here, and that can literally fast track your pathway to attain the level of success that you want in business and in life. Again, these programs are soft programs. We don't get into, academic and intellectual conversations. Sometimes, yes, we may go there, but the main objective here is in the morning. We want to just keep you motivated and inspired. So with that being said, remember to like, subscribe, and share. And I want to thank my team for being here today. I want to thank the audience from across the world who are looking at this program and you find it interesting. I do have a great Friday and a wonderful weekend ahead of you. Remember, love yourself, invest in relationships. All right. Relationship is the mother of all social systems. So keep loving yourself, build up your MVO, and just keep loving on people. Regardless of what they did to you, just keep loving on people. Right? All right, my friends, thanks for being here today. And we do this again tomorrow. Tomorrow we are on air at 2 p.m. EST, and we come with a high net worth investors guide. We're going to be talking a lot about major money moves. And Paul will start to talk a little bit about income producing assets. Perhaps we'll talk some more about that. And not only talk about it, because if you need the money to go into income producing assets, guess what? You're going to get you that money. All right, let me go now because I'm going to keep talking and talking and talking and talking. Frank is laughing at me. Goodbye, friends.